Okay, I think given that it's 6 minutes, we can probably get started. So thank you to those of you who've joined us for our webinar. I'm going to hand over to Trish Johnson, Bridge Master for Clifton Suspension Bridge. Thanks, Trish.
Thanks, Anita, and welcome to everybody who is online. So firstly, I would say let's do introductions first. I've got obviously Trish Johnson. I'm Trish Johnson, the Bridge Master here at the Clifton Suspension Bridge Trust, and with me I've got Tim Baines, who's the clerk to the trustees, and Tobias Paul, who is an associate of Pinson Masons, and they are assisting us in our tolling application. And then behind the scenes, we've got Avril Baker and Anita Craig of Avril Baker Consultancy, who are managing the Q&As. And the format of the meeting how it's going to work is basically we're going to have a very brief presentation, and then there'll be some Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A facility on the screen. So the format of the presentation, I'm just going to take you through a bit about the background to the proposals, the actual proposals themselves, and what the next steps are, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. So a little bit, first of all, about the background and why we need to do this. The bridge itself is a Grade 1 listed structure. It was opened in 1864, over 161 years old. Most bridges have a design life of 120 years, so we're well past that. So we're obviously a lot of maintenance and management of the bridge is required. And some of the parts of the bridge are actually even older than 161 years. They come from another bridge that was being dismantled in London. And it's always been a toll bridge. Even before the advent of cars, we were charging for horses and sheep and people crossing the bridge. The bridge itself sits over a major road, a river, a railway line, and a path in the gorge is a site of special scientific interest, which means they're like rare plants and very plants that we have to preserve and make sure we don't harm. And it's still a key part of the Bristol infrastructure network. And it carries up to 3 million vehicles a year. Not all of them are paying £1, as there are a large number of crossing car users as well. And it has a weight limit of 4 tonnes, so we don't get any large vehicles crossing the bridge. A bit about the trust itself. The Clifton Suspension Bridge has been looked after by the trust since 1954. And I just need to clarify, it receives no funding from local or central government and does not receive any grants to actually maintain the bridge. It's a not-for-profit charity, and the trustees themselves are volunteers and receive no income or salaries. And the trust was formed under the 1952 Act, and its key responsibility is to maintain the bridge in perpetuity, which is quite a challenging aspect. And the income from the tolls and the income from the investments that we use, what we put into are the sole means of actually maintaining this bridge in perpetuity. So where does the toll income go? It's basically used to maintain, to inspect and monitor the bridge and to carry out major projects such as the one that's ongoing at the present moment in time. It also pays for our operational staff, so the staff in the office, our bridge attendants on the bridge, and myself, the bridge master. It covers the insurances for the bridge and for the trust, which is obviously quite a specialist insurance because there's not many bridges like ours around. The toll income, as I said, is also invested, and it grows the pot to pay for all of this. And I'd just like to make it clear that the costs relating to the museum and to the staff in the museum are not covered by the toll. Their costs are covered by tours, by school visits, donations, and it's basically a self-financing. And on occasion, it receives grants for educational purposes. So what does maintaining a Grade 1 historic structure involve? It's a systematic programme of maintenance and inspection that enables this bridge to carry on and carry the cars, the cyclists and pedestrians on a daily basis. And we inspect the bridge over a 3-yearly basis. We have regular monitoring carried out, such as the weight of the vehicles with our way beams, and we look at the movement of the chains and the wind and things like that. We carry out regular maintenance projects, such as the upgrade to the cameras, the upgrade to the way beams, we're filling potholes, and then we have the major improvement projects, which are quite costly, such as the repointing of the towers, which we did a number of years back, new toll houses, and obviously the current major refurbishment contract, which is in the region of £8 million. And we also, in all of these projects, we also have to take into consideration environmental aspects, health and safety aspects, the interface with the public, and also our traffic requirements. And we've got lots of key stakeholders that we have to engage with too. We've got 2 planning authorities, one on each side of the bridge, Historic England, Natural England, to name but a few. The challenge. So the toll was last increased about over 10 years ago. And since then, there's been various increases that we have to consider. There's been increases in inflation, increases in the cost of maintenance and materials and labour for our painters and such like. Updates to health and safety requirements. We have to do things a lot more safer than we did in those 10 years ago even. There's been wage increases, climate change issues, and increase in rate of traffic. So all of this means that the Trust needs to increase the toll in order to continue to maintain and protect this bridge for future generations. So our proposals are as follows. We are consulting the public on increasing the toll charge for vehicles crossing the bridge from the £1 that we have at the minute to £1.50 per crossing, and for that toll to continue to rise annually in line with inflation. And there's still no plans to charge cyclists and pedestrians to use the bridge. And just to remind everybody, the last toll increase was in April 2014, 10 years ago, when it went from 50p to £1. And the proposed increase will allow us to increase the current toll to take account of the inflation since 2014, as you can see from the graph beside on the slide. It will cover the routine day-to-day running and the maintenance costs, and then we will begin to plan for the cost of the next major refurbishment contract, which will probably take place in 25 years' time. But there'll be other special projects along the way, and we need to build up an adequate emergency reserve fund as well. So going forward, the proposed approach is for the toll to increase annually in line with inflation, and that would mean that we don't have to continually reapply for new fixed toll levels. And there's a significant cost and time which could actually be spent better directly on the toll in the Trust core operations. Increases in the tolls are linked to the increases in construction costs, and that ensures that costs and revenues remain broadly in line with each other. The bridge cards are not connected to the toll increase, and they're decided by the trustees of the bridge. And the current range of discounts are 100 crossings for £85, 500 crossings for the £350. And there's also a 50 crossing convenience card where people can put on the number plate so they can move through the barriers more quickly. There was a 1,000 crossing card used to be available, but that's now not part of the current range. So next steps. Is really for everybody to have their say. So we want them to complete a feedback survey online up until the 7th of November 2025. You can view the information at the museum and complete a paper form if you don't want to do it online. We have feedback forms in various libraries around the region, in Pill, Clifton and the Bristol Central Library. And you can also request a paper copy if you need to, from Avra Baker Consultancy, and the details are there online. So what happens next? Basically, we are at the minute consulting on our proposals, and then we will review the responses after the 7th of November and amend our proposals if necessary. And then the application will be submitted to the Department of Transport, and they will consider our application, and this may take some time. And during that time, the £1 toll will remain in place. And it is envisaged that the new toll, should it be approved, would actually come into place in January 2027. So quite a while away, because obviously the DOT take a bit of time in looking at it. So that is what the process is. We've got quite a number of questions that people have put online. But if you do have any more, just put them on the chat and we'll try and get through them as we've got an hour's webinar to go through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trish. So what we'll do is start with the questions that were submitted by those people who signed up for the webinar. So the first question we had was, what would be the impact of raising the toll on the level of car use and also walking and cycling?
Well, we know that in the past, when we've raised the toll, that the level of vehicles usage has dropped down by about 10%. So we've allowed for that in our model. So we know that increasing the toll will actually reduce the number of vehicles. But we're actually seeing year on year a 1% reduction in the number of vehicles coming across the bridge. And I think that's down to how people are managing their day-to-day business, working from home more, things like that. In terms of pedestrians and cyclists, we obviously have the capability for people to cross the bridge by foot, and we always try to keep 1 footway open even when we're doing any maintenance works. So that should not be a problem.
Okay, thank you. The next question that we had was a concern about how it would impact trades users and also people who need to drive due to disability.
For people who we offer free crossings for those in receipt of the higher rate of mobility, and that's with a PIP or a DLA, and they have a Bristol BS postcode. So that won't change. So those people who have got that, the free crossings, will continue to have the free crossings.
Thank you. Someone asked, what would be done to mitigate people parking on the Lee Woods side to walk over, for example, for school runs or short trips?
We've got, I mean, that's outside of our control, really, because that's North Somerset. But what I would say is, you know, we now have paid parking on the North Somerset side, as we have on the Bristol side. So for anybody who was to do that, they would have to pay for parking. So that may stop people parking in a way that they shouldn't.
Thank you. The next question, have you considered at what point an increase in the toll would discourage drivers from using the bridge, which would ultimately cause a reduction in income?
Yeah, in our report, we've allowed for a one-step decline of about 10% when the new toll would come in, and we've modelled that. And now previously, then that has actually the number of vehicles have actually improved. But because we're assuming there's going to be an increase, an inflation increase every year on the toll as well. We've allowed for that step, and we've not allowed for any increase. So it's all been modelled in line with that. Tim, I don't know if there's anything more you would want to say on that.
No, I mean, obviously, the greater the unknown on. Sorry, I should just say my role as the clerk is twofold. One is to sort of manage the business side of the bridge, which is primarily its finances, and secondly to help run the trust as a charity in terms of its trustee meetings. But putting my finance hat on, the continuing uncertainty, of course, is traffic volumes in relation to the measures that continue to be taken and future measures that would be taken by both North Somerset and Bristol City Council to reduce traffic volumes, particularly, of course, coming into Bristol. So we've put in the consultation document some of the measures, but those of us who've lived for many years in and around Bristol will have seen particularly the high costs of parking in Bristol. Some of the, for example, the park and ride, where we will be reopening, or North Somerset, and the intention is to reopen the Portishead rail link. So we're getting quite a lot of measures to reduce car volumes. And obviously that also is part of our modelling that we're expecting, as well as the one-off step decrease that Trisha's mentioned. We are expecting a continuing 1% decline per annum in traffic volumes for those reasons. I've met with both the transport teams of both Bristol and North Somerset, and they've really confirmed to me that you know that these measures will be continuing. Sorry, I should have said bus lanes as well. There's quite a lot of emphasis, particularly on for those that know the area, on the A370 and the road from the motorway and the A38 and so on, in terms of increasing bus lanes. So we have to be well aware of the potential impact of external decisions as well as things that we decide for ourselves.
Thank you, Tim. The next two questions that we had were in relation to the 1,000 crossing option, a request by one to consider reinstating it. So saying that the withdrawal of the option at the same time as announcing a large increase is a big cost for frequent users.
That probably is me as well. Do you want me to deal with that one, Trish?
Yes, Tim, please. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I mean, obviously, we have they're not at the same time. The 1,000 option was withdrawn last year, so it hasn't happened at the same time. But I mean, just to confirm, the 1,000 card is no longer available. We've set out in the consultation document the reasons for that. They are primarily economic reasons, in that, as Trish has said, we've seen very substantial increases in our costs. Certainly in the 11 years since we last put the toll up, and of course particularly in the last 5 years, in common with all other organisations, partly, but particularly of course following with the inflation hike following the invasion of Ukraine. We're no different to anyone else. We have seen increases in construction costs. We've seen increases in wage costs and taxes. So with a fixed toll, as people could understand, we have no choice. We have, unless we reapply to the Department for Transport as we're doing now, we can't change the £1 toll. So the only choice in terms of the only option in terms of revenue is to look at the discount that we offer in relation to the cards. So we needed to take some action a year or two ago in terms of the 1,000 crossing card and raise more revenue, and that's what we've done. We do understand that people have liked that card and the level of discount that it provided, and we're sorry, obviously, that those costs have to go up, but we are no different to any other organisation, as I say, in relation to the costs we face, and this is our response. In that that's what we've done to try and help and improve our revenue.
Okay, thank you very much both for your responses to those questions. That actually brings us to an end of the questions that we received prior to the webinar. If any of the attendees want to ask any other questions, they can do so via the Q&A. We've not received any questions as yet. I'll just give you an opportunity to submit any questions now if you have them. Kaz, I can see that you have your hand raised. I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak. Kaz, you have a question?
Yes, just back to that 1,000 crossing. Many of us in the local community have asked whether, basically having had it withdrawn without consultation, not being able to do anything, and feeling at a massive disadvantage, would you be open to allowing us to do one more top up before taking it off the table for us forever?
Trish or me?
To anybody.
Sorry, I'm looking at Trish as to whether.
Well, we were going to consider all everything in the mix when we get back from the consultation details. So I presume you've filled in a response form.
Oh, absolutely, yes. But at the moment, we feel, a lot of us feel that as locals, we're at a massive disadvantage because of the amount of traffic going over the bridge. But because we live so close to the bridge, we really need to use it.
The traffic is actually being reduced on a year-on-year basis.
Doesn't feel like it on the school run, to be honest. And it's and it feels quite dangerous now when you're trying to either cycle or walk, because it's got so bad. And then other aspects of North Road joining Bridge Road adds to that worry as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's the North Road joining the VAT run that people use there. Is sadly is not our, we can't do anything about that. That's outside of our remit in terms of the bridge. That comes under North Somerset Council, and I know there's been discussions with them about trying to do something about that. But we will consider all of the various comments when we get all of it back at the end of the 7th of November, and then we will there won't be any decision until after that time, and then we'll take it to the Department of Transport. Sorry, Anita, I think you're on mute.
Apologies. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Kaz, for your question. Did anybody else want to ask a question before we pull this to a close? Well, thank you very much to those of you who joined us this evening for the webinar. Unless Trish, Tim or Tobias, you want to say anything further, it would be useful, Trish, if you could just pop back on the slides back to the details of where the consultation information is.
And if people can encourage or share the details with colleagues or neighbours, you know, the more consultation responses we get, the better.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time tonight in listening to our presentation.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.